everyone! For those of you who don't know, I'm Sarah, so welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently, and we're actually going to be discussing with you guys what's in season for June. So we are Canadians and we are living in the GTA, so we will be discussing what's local and what's seasonal for us as it stands right now. We're going to be discussing different tips on how to prepare these foods, how to store them, and just generally what their value is when eating them. So I am currently a produce clerk at Longo's, which is a grocery store chain in the GTA. We'll leave a location finder in the description box below, so if you want to find a store near you, you can definitely do that. And basically, because I do work in produce, I have the inside scoop, if you'd say, on what is seasonal and available right now. So just I want to preface this video by saying we are in the middle of this pandemic and a lot of things are in low supply or might not be available at grocery stores near you. So definitely there's no harm in calling ahead and speaking with the produce manager or produce worker to make sure that these things are in stock. That way you're planning your week effectively and according to what they have in stores. So let's get started. We're going to talk about fruits right now. In season currently in Ontario are strawberries, cherries, and rhubarb. And I'll go through each one of these things and discuss a little bit more about them. So, rhubarb. I actually have them on the vegetable side here, and that's technically because they are a vegetable. Now, in the 18th century, councilmen passed a ruling that claimed rhubarb as a fruit. And this was because it allowed it to keep the taxes lower on them so that people could buy more of it and put it in sweets that they love. So we're going to consider rhubarb as a fruit. When you're looking for rhubarb at your local grocery store, you might not always find it in its stalk and leaf and stem form. Many grocery stores pre-trim it and put it in packaged containers just because a lot of people aren't looking for a high quantity of rhubarb. Most of them are only looking for a cup or two to put into baking recipes. That's just a note for you guys on how to find it, and it is normally kept with the fruits. Another thing about rhubarb is most of it is hothouse or greenhouse grown. You're not going to typically find them at this size. Sometimes they're a little smaller just because of the nature of how they're growing now. So moving on to cherries. Cherries are full of antioxidants and are perfect for that very reason. And that's why they get dark to a perfect red color. That's how you would also know when you're picking the perfect ripe cherry. A lot of Canadian grown cherries can be pretty sour. When at the grocery store, you would just want to do a light press to test its firmness to make sure that they're not getting soft. But also you want to look for the ones that are the darkest red as possible. Some of them, if they're like a ruby red or like almost a light pink, they're actually going to be very tart. So next we're going to be moving on to strawberries. Strawberries are believed to reduce heart risk diseases and even certain types of cancer. And that's because they're high in nutrients such as vitamin C, B12, and fibers, and many other nutrients that are important to keeping a healthy diet. Now, strawberries are perfect when they're eaten alone as a snack or even baked into delicious recipes such as a strawberry rhubarb pie. So yesterday I made this pie from scratch and I used the recipe found on Food Network's site by Valerie Enters. It's the Grandma's Strawberry Rhubarb Pie. And it is one of the easiest pies I've ever made. And I'm actually really happy with the outcome because normally my crust turns out to be like kind of like a cookie dough kind of crust. I can just tell that this is one of those like flaky, buttery pie crusts, and I'm very happy for it and excited to eat it tonight. So of course we're going to have the link in the description box below, but if you've been following along with us already, we do have our own recipe cards that you guys can download and save. So if you want to find it in that format, it'll be on our website available for you all. So moving on to the vegetable side of things, we have asparagus, both green asparagus, which I think most people are familiar with, but we also have purple asparagus. And I was so happy to find this at Longo's this weekend. Purple asparagus is a rarer find and therefore more expensive. So it is typically more dollars per pound than the green asparagus. And there's even white Ontario asparagus, but I wasn't able to get my hands on any of that, unfortunately. There is a difference between the two. Of course, this beautiful violet shade of this asparagus does end at its flesh. So on the inside, it's typically green or creamy white. But the difference is that purple asparagus has more sugar in it, so it's definitely sweeter. That might be a pro for some people, especially if you're not fond of the nutty taste asparagus normally gives you. Now you can boil asparagus, grill asparagus, steam it. There are so many ways to cook it and to incorporate it into different recipes that it's a must for any grocery shopping week. So now I'm going to be talking about cauliflower. Now I think cauliflower is familiar to a lot of us, so I'm just going to be discussing on the ways to prepare. Cauliflower can be riced, and it has a very similar consistency to a regular grain of rice would have, but it is very easy to make, and it has a higher nutrient density. There are many valid options in which to prepare cauliflower. The next one would be steaming it. Steaming cauliflower allows it to retain more of its flavor rather than boiling it, and remain most of its nutrients. Studies show that steaming it is probably actually one of the better ways to cook cauliflower, so that way you can get more vitamins out of it. If you are going to be boiling cauliflower, it's best to stay within 5 minutes, so that way it doesn't become limped and soft, but still remains crisp. So next we're going to be talking about portobello mushrooms. Portobello mushrooms are a very sensitive vegetable, and they have to be stored pretty precisely. If you're going to be storing them, you should try to place them in a paper bag. Many grocery stores offer them when you're even selecting them. If you don't have a paper bag, wrapping them in paper towel will just allow them to remain fresher for longer in the refrigerator. Of course, if you use plastic cling wrap, what's just going to happen is you're actually going to develop moisture, and as you can see, some of it has already happened to this one, but it'll just damage the skin, and you'll lose some of the flavoring of it because on the inside, the gills of the mushroom will also start to wilt. So portobello mushrooms have very woody stems, which they're not the best to eat with. So you would either discard them or clean them, and you can use them in broths or stews. Also, one more thing to note about portobello mushrooms are their gills. They are edible to consume, however, they're very delicate and they sometimes become black when cooking, and that will also mix into the coloring of your food. So you might just want to, with a spoon, scoop out the gills, that way it doesn't affect the rest of your meal. So lastly, I'm going to be talking about peppers. Now, in Ontario, a variety of peppers do grow. What I have here today are bell peppers, and I love bell peppers because they can be prepared in a number of ways, including you can just eat them raw as a snack, but they're also extremely colorful, so they add just a pop in any meal that you're making. I also picked up, alongside the bell peppers, sweet long peppers. They're new to longos. I've never tried them, so I'm very excited to incorporate them into some of my meals that I'm going to be making this week. But on the packaging, it says, "Looks spicy but tastes sweet," and that really got to me. So I picked them up, and I'm really excited to start trying them. So also in this video, we're going to be showing you all how to make an easy pasta salad with these fresh vegetables here. These are perfect for summer entertaining or even just family dinners. Just like the strawberry rhubarb pie, we will be leaving a recipe card link for the pasta salad down below. So I chose an Italian dressing, and you're going to want about a 1/4 cup of dressing. We used about 2/3 of a pack of pasta, kilogram pack of pasta, and that's going to feed 6, but only as a side dish, so keep that in mind. And now I'm just going to scoop all the veggies. So I used 2 shepherd peppers, 2 portobello mushrooms, about 12 stalks of asparagus, and a wedge of red onion. Lastly, just some mini bocconcini, about half of a package. And just with a spoon, you're going to want to mix it all together. And there you have it. Link for the pasta salad down below. So just as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, because of the state we find ourselves in right now, it's a little unfortunate. I did find all of this produce at my work, but what I would have hoped to have done is bring you guys along with us to the farmers market, talk to some of the vendors, meet some of the farmers, and just have that kind of dialogue. Of course, most farmers markets are closed for the year or for the remainder of the season due to COVID-19. But the good thing is that we can always try in stores to get our hands on local seasonal products. As a side note, this is actually a little glimpse of what I do in my day-to-day at Longo's. I rearrange and design some of the produce so that way the customers get the best experience with the produce and can see it at its most fresh and delicious state. So I actually assemble them in these little pints just so that the customers are able to see if the strawberries have any bruises or if they look ripe enough for them. Hope to see you soon.